Hey guys, it's Nathan from the Kentucky Cycling YouTube channel. Happy 2023. Welcome to our first Zoom interview of the year, in which you mountain bikers out there are going to be excited to learn about the details surrounding a very robust race series that is planned for this year. And so I'm excited to introduce my guest today, who is Josh Patton from the Bluegrass Mountain Cup. Josh, welcome back to the channel.
Hey Nathan, thanks for having me.
Glad you could join us on this gray morning. We're actually up early. I've actually got a big old honking cup of coffee. If our backgrounds look a little gray, it's because it is a gray January day in Kentucky. And what a better time to think about what we're going to do when we get to be outside and turning pedals again.
Yeah, for sure. These little pockets of a 30-degree day, then a 60-degree day, it kind of hurts, It just like teases you for like all that good spring weather. And today's one of the less fun of those days.
For sure. And there's all these old adages about Kentucky, if you don't like the weather, stick around, it'll change. Or here's the forecast for this week. It's going to be negative 30 today and 60 degrees tomorrow and sunny, So we've seen a lot about that here recently. And I'll say in short order here, I'm really excited because you have a very robust season. And I think a lot of mountain bikers are going to be looking forward to learning about this. So I want to get your website pulled up and let you talk through the season. But before we do that, I wanted to give you the opportunity to just kind of talk at a high level about what's changed with the race series. I know in the past you've done some mix of like trail running and mountain biking, and you seem, just kind of looking at the site, seem to be shifting more towards mountain biking, less towards trail running. I know we talked a little bit about that sort of shifting dynamic last year, so I want to give you just a few minutes to kind of talk about what's changed at a high level before we start talking about the races.
Yeah, so we've added a lot of races for this year. We're very excited about that. We've added a couple more XC races, another Enduro, and also a 12-hour race, 12 hours of Capital View. And we've really pulled the trail running races that we have hosted in the past away from the Bluegrass Mountain Cup name to just under our LLC Rocket Power brand co, because we're hosting more races. We're hosting some road running races and stuff like that. So that we're just trying to separate that, because not all mountain bikers care about trail running and vice versa. Those audiences are different now. There's a big enough following of both, really, that we're just trying to separate those and, not confuse anyone. A lot of people like skim read everything, on registration pages and get confused. So we feel like it's a lot easier to separate it all. We're still doing trail running races. I think I have four trail running races and five running races in total, one being a road event so far on the schedule for this year. And we just have info in a different place than that, so we can dedicate the Bluegrass Mountain Cup name to solely mountain bikes. Some of those weekends are still double dip weekends, like a Saturday will be a trail run, Sunday will be a mountain bike race. So for the handful of participants that love to double up, they still have that opportunity. Really just trying to push forward all of our mountain bike stuff and really grow the seed that we've planted with the race community and the mountain bike race community. It's full potential, and we're excited for 2023. We've added a lot of events for the growth and all the things that we want to see happen with it. So
all right, good deal. So what about any other kind of high level changes? I know you and I were chatting about one of the races, and you were talking about maybe some differences to how you're going to do categories this year.
Yeah, so typically in the past we've done your pro Cat 1 category, fast guys going off first thing in the morning. And then a few hours later we'll do the category 2s and then the category 3s. So a little bit of how that worked. We didn't have many people racing in category 2. Mostly the only people we saw racing in category 2 was the excuse of either A, I didn't want to wake up an extra hour earlier to get here to the start of Cat 1 and I'm fast enough to race Cat 1, or B, I feel like I just am a little bit too fast for Cat 3s, but I know I'm fast enough for Cat 1s. I just don't want to race them because I want to have a chance of winning. So we only saw like a handful of people in Cat 2, which created a really big Cat 3 category, because a lot of those folks probably should have been in 2, and all the 2s should have been in 1. So we're getting rid of Cat 2 and Cat 3 as we've known them in the past,
A
and
lot of
we're going with
sandbaggers out
open.
there, huh?
A lot of sandbaggers, man. Like we had some guys, and I'm not going to say any names, and I've talked to these people before, but like they were putting down pro times in their Cat 3 lap. Like their lap time was as fast of a lap to get them on the podium in Cat 1. Yes, they would have had to done that for 2 more laps, but still, even if you slow it down 10%, you're still like on the podium or just off the podium in Cat 1, and these guys were racing Cat 3. So we've got to like get that shuffled out, and I have called people out, be like, yo, I'm sorry, but like you got to step up. You're way too fast for this category. Like, you got to. You're going to make everybody mad. So this will help with that. Open category is for your 2-3 combines. If you are moderately fast and can do pretty, if you can put down a decent race pace, if you're above average as far as racing goes, you should probably be in Cat 1. So we're going to have hopefully a bigger Cat 1 field. It's going to make it more competitive. It's going to make it a little bit kind of more of a, I guess you could say, a pro expert category in that way, to where we might take it down a lap compared to what we've done in the past. Some of our courses are getting longer, so it'll be less laps. It might make the overall time a little bit shorter, but it's that give take. It's like, all right, we're going down to 3 laps, but we added a mile per lap. So, it kind of lands in the middle of what the 2 would be. And a lot of your racers can do that amount of racing and push hard and go for it. And that leaves open to kind of be that like the next tier, to where if you're kind of a beginner or mid-level 3 rider, this is going to be a good challenge for you. But if you're a mid pack of what was a 2 or a lower pack of what was a 2, this is going to be a more competitive group because you're going to have a bigger field. And a lot of the 3 racers were way more competitive and a lot more fit and capable than what they signed up for or give themselves credit to be. So with this, we do know that there's a lot of racers out there that maybe aren't that competitive. They signed up in 3 last year because they just wanted to do a lap, have a good time, get a time, go home. They knew they weren't racing for a podium spot, and so on. So we have this category. It's called party lappers.
Oh yeah.
You get a number plate, you get a chip time, and you start in your wave after all the open racers. Like we start in heat, so we don't have like 100 people trying to get into the woods at once. And you start in a wave, and you get a chip time and everything, and it gives you, like, let's say your lap time was 35 minutes. Well, let's say that would put you in the open min 40 to 49 if you were going for a competitive category. You're like, oh, well, I was only a minute and a half off the pace. That would have got 5th in this category. That's better than I thought it was. So maybe at the next race, you've got your feet wet. You just kind of know the lay of the land. You know how the system of racing works. You know the proximity of how close the handlebars are going to be at the start, and all those nuances that you don't know maybe as a racer, you figured out in party lappers. And then when you're ready, you can come into your open categories as you like. And maybe open categories you never want to do because maybe they're doing 2 or 3 laps for a course, and you're like, well, I've only really got 1 or 2 laps in me on this course. No stress. Party lappers, you can do half a lap and come back home. Just go out there and have fun. Take it as you want. It's kind of like the walker category of a 5K. It's like, I want to run a little, I want to walk a little. I'll see what my time is, but I'm not a full-blown runner yet. So I need this step to get me to that next part at my own pace. So
yeah, and as somebody who is a self-professed lover of all things cycling, master of none, I'll say that really appeals to me. I had no idea that you were doing that, and so that I mean, I'll say for anybody who just likes to go out and turn pedals, this whole notion of what'd you call it again? Party
lapper.
Party lapper.
Lappers. Yeah.
So
yeah. A misspelling with lappers technically is how it'd be, but like it's kind of like the goofiness of that. We're gonna do some cool number plates. Like this is our number plate from last year. We've done these, and we've done a black and white version, but I'm pretty sure for party lappers category, I'm gonna have to do some like 80s like neons and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
why not, right?
Yeah, and well, in that way, the fast guys as they're coming up behind the party lapper can just say, "Hey, party lapper, get over!" you know, it's like,
It
yeah,
will
man,
help with that. It
yeah.
really will be like, hey, we saw someone pushing their bike. They looked like they were struggling. They were off on the wrong trail. What kind of number plate they have? Oh, it looked like a disco. All right, good deal. We're good. Uh,
yeah, yeah. Well,
yeah,
that's great. That's great. So really and truly, still three categories, but you're really getting into those pro, those really fast guys who are going to be uber competitive, kind of that middle group who wants to compete, is really kind of starting to race or maybe getting better, but maybe not up to that sort of pro, as you said, like the Brian Schwarm level,
yeah,
of
yeah.
competition. It's a name that gets taught out there a lot, Brian. So you got a reputation, buddy. You better keep up the good work. Uh, and then that party lapper. So did you do the party lapper thing last year? And did you get very many people who signed up for that?
So we added it kind of mid-season, and we didn't really. I think we might have had one person or something because we added it right before a race at Perry County Park. A lot of people are still like, I don't know about this place. Like, is it steep? Is it dangerous? So on. So we added it before that as like a test, and we had a lot of feedback of like, hey, I like this. I saw it. Couldn't go. Summer conflicts with vacation or whatever it is. Summertime things. But we had some feedback, and we did, review with a lot of people that we have had feedback from before that was racing Cat 3. But like, hey, I know that like your experience as a racer, like maybe I know that you want to come race and ride and do something, but I know that you don't care about the podium and going for this. You just want to get that lap experience out there. And it was stemmed from that. We had a
Yeah.
handful of reviews and comments and questions and stuff like that people give feedback, because we're always open to feedback. Like, I could kind of care less about what we, do or say on like all of this stuff goes. Whatever makes the racers like happy and comfortable, and really what we're trying to focus on there. Like, of course, I got to say, well, I'm sorry, I can't do this category. We have one person every 4 years sign up for it, but this is something that there is, multiple interest in. And another thing and this is really cool, I can actually look and tell you how many people are registered for it. But we've added that category to our enduros. And so enduros is still a very new concept to a lot of people in Kentucky. And our enduro courses some stages are pretty tough, but some stages are really attainable. That's just the nature of the trail systems we have. Like Duffield, there's a flow trail on one that's super smooth in parts and like very approachable. But then there's a trail called Solemn that we'll be using that's pretty gnarly. I mean, it's one of the gnarlier trails in Kentucky. And same at Sugarcamp, there's some trails there that are very approachable, very attainable for, an amateur rider. Then there's some that are pretty steep, and you have to know how to ride like steep rock chutes and everything like that. So we've created and we didn't do a party lapper category for the Sugarcamp Enduro, but after like kind of getting the feel that was our first enduro, we do have party lappers as part of enduro. So basically, let's say, Nathan, like you're going to the Duffield Enduro, you're like, okay, I've pre-rode the course, I had to walk this section a bunch on this trail. Not my thing. I don't feel like approaching that. I don't feel like maybe doing this other trail because there's this one steep chute that I can't get figured out. But then stages 2, 3, 4, I'm good with those. I love those. I want to race those. I want to see what my time are. You race party lappers, you skip the stages you don't like, you race the stages you like, you get a chip time for the stages you like, and you can compare that against your age group and kind of see like, oh, this is where I'd have fared in them. As soon as I can work on my technical skills next year, if I'm ready for, stages 1 and 5, then I'll race my open category. If not, I can still keep getting times for the other category or the other stages and work into it. So it's very similar in the same way as like how it would work for an XC race, but for enduro. And we've got 10 registrants, so that's about 10% of the field. It's over 10% of the field for the Duffield Enduro is currently registered in party lappers. So that's awesome to see, because that means
Yeah.
that it's
Yeah.
probably
No.
new people or younger people trying enduro and getting into it, which is one of the goals of the sport, is to see more people racing our series. And it's really good for like youth riders, like a 12-year-old, like they just don't have the height or the experience to like get up over some of the steep drops and roots and rocks and stuff like that, but they're great on all the other stuff. It's a great category for them if they can't race all of the stages.
That's really cool. And you know, we talk a lot about progression in terms of like trail system development and trying to build in like, you know, where you can go from beginner, but then up your skills to intermediate and then really get into more advanced lines. It's really encouraging to me to see you building in that kind of same progression into the race series itself. So it's like, you know, you can do something and have it be, you know, really beginner friendly. You're really not looking to compete, but you can be part of this culture and you can look to increase your skill set and move up, you know, as your skills improve. And, you know, so that's cool. To your knowledge, have you sort of coined this term of party lapper, or is that something that is in the industry?
If it's in the industry, I didn't like knowingly label it this as like a standard mountain bike term. I mean, maybe it's like just living like somewhere in the back of the filing cabinet up here, you know, because I've done this for so long. Who knows? I've could have been to a race and already have like seen that category named that way, but like I don't remember where that was at, if so. But yeah.
No,
So
well, you know, and like I said, as sort of a non-racer, to me, it's one of the most exciting things to learn about in this interview. So hashtag party lapper, you know, get out there, turn some pedals, you know, become part of the culture of the stuff. That's really cool. Is there anything other kind of at a high level that we should talk about before kind of jumping into the race series?
one of the biggest things that, you know, and now me and my wife, you know, she's the help to this. And if you've raced our races, you've met LJ at registration. She's the one that handles all the paperwork chaos the morning of the race. And you know, we were talking last night. I saw an entry fee for an enduro race that it had just launched the like registration page, and this race is a few months away. It's like $165, and you know, it's 5 stages. It's not a lot of you know, maybe the trails are better, maybe they're steeper, maybe they're rougher, but like you're not really getting any extra amenities or anything like that. It is a USAC sanctioned race, but like that doesn't really matter much. Like for an enduro racer, like it would an XC or a road racer that's trying to climb the ladder and get a call up at nationals and all that. Like this for enduro and downhill, that doesn't matter as much. And you know, our current price for Duffield Enduro, I think is 75 is what the current tier is at. Pretty sure. I could look, but yeah, like we try to keep the races as affordable as possible to where we're still, you know, turning a profit on the race side and we're not going into the red, and that it's justifiable for our time and our investments, because it does cost money to do all the stuff that we do. We're just trying to make sure that we can keep our prices where it's affordable for our racers to come race. And we want to make sure people know that, because like some people have some like resistance about like the prices, and they're like, yo, look, Tennessee, North Carolina, double and triple the price for like kind of the same event, you know, just at a different place. Like really kind of like invest in what you have and what we're trying to do here in Kentucky. And you know, sponsors help this. You know, that's the biggest thing. When we reach out to sponsors, we're like, listen, without sponsors, we can't keep the price to participants low. That's just the reality of it. And sponsors are a big help for all that, because if we don't have sponsors on board, we got to go buy more stuff basically to do it with, you know, and that comes out of the race money. That's one of the biggest things, is like on the back end, we're trying to keep the race prices, and we've got prices set for this year. And pretty much all the other race series around us have went like way up in pricing. That's one of those things that like we mention in a lot of conversations, and we don't like post public about it or anything like that, but it's something that we're proud of on the back end. From the administrative things and changes, it's kind of not a change, but that's the thing, it's not a change. We've kept pretty much the same pricing that we have in past years, and you know, we're really excited about that, because we want to see more people racing bikes, and we want to, you know.
Yeah, 2 follow-up questions out of those comments. First is people who may just be not new to mountain bike racing. You know, I think you've got sort of 2 categories of race that you're conducting. You're doing a cross-country race and you're doing an enduro race. Can you talk at a high level about what the difference is between the 2?
Yeah, definitely. So we have our two enduros, Duffield and Sugarcamp, and they bookend the season. One in March, start off the year, and then one in October to end the year. All the races in between that are XC races. And so your enduro race, stage race, mostly gravity based. You're not timed on the uphills, you're timed on the downhills. It's stages, usually anywhere from 4 to 6. And it's a whole lot of fun. More technical riding, more downhill, rougher, a little bit harder. If you like the more bike park kind of stuff, that's probably what you're going to like more than XC racing, which is more endurance based. And so the XC races, they're lap based. Most every category does more than one lap because we do kind of short laps for most of our venues, just by the way the lay of the land. If you're racing pro, you could be doing 4 laps. First one around, 4 laps wins the race. And that's chip timed as well. You can see your lap splits and everything like that. Less technical than enduro. We usually keep those on more XC friendly, as kind of what we know in the industry trails. Very approachable. If you're newer to the racing game, there could be a couple spots that you might want to push. It's not going to hurt your race. I mean, pushing for 30 seconds in an hour-long race isn't a big deal, right? Stuff like that. But those are kind of our two things. And we have an XC race this year, the 12 Hours of Capital View, which is like an ultra XC race. It's an XC race times 6. And it's taking your 2-hour race and making it 12 hours. And it's however many laps you can do, and whoever does the most in 12 hours wins the race. There's also a 6-hour component. There's also team components, and I'm sure you'll want to talk more about that. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's like our XC races are pretty standard, old school XC racing with age categories and pro, amateur, and then enduro racing is, age categories as well with pro and amateur, and then you're just timed on the stages. It's a very simple format. It's after like a lot of enduro races at Sugarcamp Enduro were like very new and curious of how it would work. But once you get there, you get your wristband for your timing. You get the pre-morning brief, and you're off, and you just go ride all the stages, come back, turn in your wristband, and there you go. There's your results.
Yeah. So a quick follow-up question on that enduro piece. So is the course marked in terms of like where the timing starts and then where it actually ends?
Yeah. So like, let's say you're rolling up on stage 1, we'll have signs that say Bluegrass Mountain Cups to stage 1 arrow, and it will lead you to the starts of all the stages throughout. And we use course tape very, very graciously everywhere. And so like if you're coming to stage 1, you'll have some course tape before, and it might say stage 1 start ahead or stage start ahead, 50, 60 feet back from where the timing block is put into the ground. And then there will be 2 big signs that say is stage 1 start on both sides of the trail. The block will be like right behind that. And when you go through that, your chip's going to know it, and it's your time starts. And then basically you're going to race until you see 2 more big signs that say stage 1 finish, and the timing block's right there. And then you look for the sign to take you on to the next one. So like at Sugarcamp, we do a lot of shuttles there. So like after stage 1, for example, you get on the shuttle, go back up, go to stage 2, shuttle, stage 3, so on. Duffield's going to be a little bit different. It's riding to all the stages, so there'll be connectivity and stuff like that. But I mean, you pretty much just ride along, and you can, like, if you see that, that stage start ahead, you're like, oh, okay, I need to, move my phone to this pocket so it doesn't bother me, and get a drink of water and whatever other thing you want to do, and wait for some people ahead of you to make sure they're spaced out so you don't catch people and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then start as you want. Because when you're in between the stages, there's no penalty, there's no time ticking, there's nothing like that. It's the like limbo time. So.
And you pointed at your wrist. Is that where the microchip is? I mean, you giving them some kind of bracelet or something that they wear?
Yeah. So yeah, for our XC races, the chip just goes onto the back of the number plates. It's a little sticker that sticks to the back of the number plate for XC races. But we work with the guy that runs the West Virginia Enduro series for our enduro races. It's a different type of timing system. He does a great job. He's got a great system, and it works as you get this bracelet with a little stretchy band and it looks like a USB stick almost that goes on your wrist. And when you cross the line, basically those boxes tell that little stick on your wrist, your time started at 9:16, you know? And then when you cross the next one, it's like, okay, they finished at 9:20. And then when you go turn this in at the end of the day, it's got all those, that 4 minutes programmed, and it just pops up, and it's very simple. It's you just make sure you turn your wrist in or your bracelet in to get a time and pick it up in the morning. That's the most important thing, is don't go up the hill without picking up your your wristband, or else
Yeah.
you're not going to get a time.
Yeah, you'd be sad.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to ask you about, Josh, so you mentioned sponsors, and I think it's really important that we acknowledge our sponsors. When you do sponsors, do you do it for the whole series, or do you do it are there for individual races?
We do both. So some sponsors, like Finish Line USA. Finish Line USA, they've been a sponsor of us in the past. They make chain lubes, tire sealants, bike cleaners, all kinds of bike care products like that. And they're going to be on board again for 2023. They've been awesome with providing just tons of product that, are very useful for our racers, especially like bike wash and things that people don't buy necessarily, but like they need to be introduced because there's like a better bike specific product than just like what you might find in the house that could be harmful for your bike.
Right.
And they give tons of product, which helps with podiums, which helps with like swag items, which helps with the bike wash at the races, everything like that. There's a lot of other sponsors that we're not confirmed yet, because there's a few bids out there that we're dealing with, like, all right, so like if so and so signs up, that means it's going to conflict with so and so. So we just got to wait till like everything's on the table, and then
Yeah.
go with decisions based on that. Because bike companies compete. We don't want to put people in gray water and stuff. So bike industry sponsors like them. They sponsor the whole season. We work with them all year long for all the events. Now, like real estate agent, for example, that could want to be involved in some of the races. Maybe they're only close to 2 races and do real estate in that area. Well, they're only going to want to sponsor those 2 races. So we do have both. We do have a lot of local sponsors for our individual races, county tourisms and like chamber of commerces and local businesses and so on. Of course, they're individual for all the races. And then, we work with series wide sponsors for the whole year as well. And we're still 2 months out, over 2 months out from our first race, so we're still very open to the conversation of series sponsorship or individual race sponsorship to add to the series. I mean, this is a way of profit for our business. We want to make money off of it so we can grow it. I mean,
Sure.
we've got tens of thousands of dollars invested in stuff that means nothing to anyone else, because it's timing equipment and bicycle racing equipment. It's like there's no value if you're not doing this, right? So we sponsors make this stuff happen and makes it better for the people that come to the races.
Good deal. So, given that you still are looking for sponsors, what's the best way if somebody's watching this video and they might be interested in sponsoring one of the races we talk about? What is the best way to reach you?
The Bluegrass Cup website has a contact form on it. That's the best way. I'll see that email. You can also find me on Facebook or Instagram, the Bluegrass Cup, or me personally. Like, I'll respond to stuff. I'm pretty good about making sure that stuff like that doesn't fall through the cracks, and I try to check my junk mail and all that stuff in case it gets sent there. So
Okay.
yeah, just reach out to us. We're all over the state this year, so some sponsors may not have any interest in being from as far east as Prestonsburg and as far west as Grand Rivers, which is LBL Canal Loop. We can do a lot. I mean, that's part of how like we do things with sponsorship, is that we are a marketing company that owns this race series, and with that we have a lot of room to like meet your goals as a sponsor and like do unique things that make it a worthy investment. And we're not looking for just a write-off of like, oh, here's your petty cash, go have your fun race, thanks, leave me alone. We don't like that. We've turned down sponsorships before when it's been like that situation, because we like one, we feel guilty for taking that, and two, we just don't want that. We want to actually like treat you like a client essentially in that way, and like give you something for what you're paying
Yeah,
for.
more of a
And it comes
partnership.
with, yeah, exactly. I mean, like we have the ability and we have a platform of, like, most of our Facebook posts like see like anywhere from 5 to 20 some thousand like views. Because they'll get shares by, and we'll share them in various groups and stuff like that. So like if it's a post where there's a sponsor involved, they're getting a lot of marketing for those. And we try to do very applicable sponsors and figure out how like your business or your company or anything would tie in to what we're doing here at Bluegrass Cup. And there's usually always a way for that, because we have a very diverse audience. We have people who are in high school all the way up to people who are retired, and we have military, we have um, white collar people. We have all this different like user group, and that's one of the coolest things about mountain biking and cycling. Very, very diverse user group of people that are here to play. So it's a good opportunity to really kind of bring all the different connection points together.
All right. Well, Josh, without any further ado, I'd like to get your site brought up here and start talking about these races. The site is bluegrassmountaincup.com. And if we go to our events page here, we've got the 2023 Bluegrass Mountain Cup event schedule. So if you would just talk us through the different events that are out there.
Yeah, so starting it off into March, Duffield Enduro. That's in West Point, Kentucky, which is just south of Louisville on the river. West Point, if you blink, you will miss it. It's just north of Fort Knox. It's one of probably the most underrated trail systems in Kentucky. You can kind of see from that photo there. That is at Duffield. Kimball Louisville had a project last year where a trail builder came in and built like a very very groomed flow trail, and they added some cool rock features that are safe. Like you can ride down this, and it's not, it's very intentionally and well placed rocks for safety and progression. But there's also some old school trails there. This is probably one of the most like both ends of the spectrum trail systems in Kentucky, and it's a small area with not a whole lot of mileage, but you can get a lot of runs in, and you can get a lot of climbing in because it's pretty steep little gully there. So some trails you'll be on are like a goat trail, and it'll be super narrow and just a steep hillside that you're on, and some cool berms, very old school in that way, with some rooty sections and hand built turns. And then you can go ride a flow trail. So it's got a little bit of something for everyone. It's one of the better places to ride in Kentucky, especially if you like technical riding. Now, if you're looking for a big 30-mile day, maybe not the place to come pedal that. You'll be doing a lot of climbing if you do. Like I can look on Strava right now and see how many feet I climbed the other day just doing a few laps. But this is one of the best places to go to learn skills, get progression, and have fun. And it's kind of off the beaten path, right? So not a lot of people know about it, but it's been a staple in the mountain bike community in Kentucky for at least 15 years, if not more.
You
Check it
mentioned this
out.
already, that there was a project done by Kimball Louisville last year, but I feel like they're kind of going through a renaissance. It's a trail system that's been out there for a long time, maybe hasn't gotten some of the attention in terms of trail maintenance that it's deserved, and now it's kind of not only being kept up, but actually improved upon to where it's kind of leveled up, so to speak. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the spaces there. If you look at like the Louisville metro area, which this is just south of that, it's really the spot where they have some elevation to play with and make these kinds of flow trails, and like have some technical descending and climbing and everything like that. So it's definitely the spot. When I rode it earlier this week, I did 8 miles and did 1,600, almost 1,700 feet of climbing.
Wow.
Now I will say that a lot of that was on a paved road. There's a paved road that goes to the top, to where you can kind of then branch off and hit a bunch of the descent. So it's a pretty easy climb to the top for a lot of it. And that's gated, so you can't drive up it if you're thinking of shuttling. That's a different thing, different situation. But it's a lot of fun. I wish that it was slightly closer. As your crow flies, it's not that bad. But for me, it's about an hour and a half because I have to go through E-Town, up Dixie Highway, and there's a million stoplights.
Yeah, and
So
for those people
always
who
a
don't
little
know, you're
longer.
down in Campbellsville, kind of.
Yeah.
People talk about Central Kentucky and they refer to Lexington, Louisville, but you're really in Central Kentucky.
Yeah, yeah. It's an argument between all the counties of like who's the center of the state, and it's
Yeah.
like Marion County has a heart in their logo because it's like the heartland or something like that, or like the heart of Kentucky, and then Taylor County is the same, like the heart of it all. And Taylor County is actually shaped like a heart, so like they can claim it some more. And then like I think Gainesville claims something like that too. And every county claims that like, oh yeah, we have the centerpiece marker that says we're the center of the state over on so and so's farm out here. It's just
Well,
a
let's just say
argument.
that between you and those surrounding counties, that's really geographically, if you're looking at a map, that's really the center of the state. So,
Yeah, let's give it a 50-mile radius, right?
yeah,
So
very good. All right,
yeah.
so that's on Sunday, March the 26th.
Yep. And Saturday, ride all day, check out the stages,
Okay.
come have fun. We're working on some camping. We're working with the city for a place for camping. That's a mile down the road. You can pedal your bike down the road. It's like the entrance road to get into the park. There's going to be camping at the other end of that. And yeah, it's going to be a fun event.
Cool. And by the city, you mean City of West Point?
City of West Point. Yep.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Yep.
All
Next
right.
up, Green River Lake. That is here across the road from me. I live basically at the trails here. This is our home base. If you've not been to Green River Lake, it's definitely different than a lot of trails that are in the state. A little bit more comparable to probably like Laurel Lake in some ways, just flowy single track, hand cut, rooty, bumpy, punchy in spots. None of the machine built flow like you would see at PC Park or anything like that. Very different from that. It's a good XC race. So we have at the front of the course, it's pretty flowy and beginner friendly. Then it gets into some technical spots before coming back around and hitting a grass path that takes us back to do a loop. It makes for some really good racing. A lot of people go out a little harder than what they maybe need to because of the punchiness and the technicality, like towards the end of the loops, tire them out just a little bit more. So it makes for some good racing where like people really, put the pedal to the metal and have some fun. We're only an hour and a half from Louisville. If you're down towards the airport area, it's like an hour and 15 typically from Louisville. And then about the same from Lexington, about an hour and 15 to the Lexington airport, hour and a half from in town. Easy drive to get here. And it should be a good race. Our trails drain super well. We worked last year with the park to get some rock on some of the areas where the horses overlap the loop that we use for the mountain bike race to make it a good loop so you're not crisscrossing and all that. And that stuff's fixed. I was out there this week and it was, crazy rains last week and it was fine. It was actually in great shape earlier this week before yesterday. Early season race, we felt comfortable putting it here because of spring rains and everything like that, not doing damage to the trail, not, being red clay that like would stop your wheels from spinning or anything like that. It's pretty much good to go any day of the year. And honestly, I prefer it when a little bit wet because it's kind of loose in spots. Like when it gets dry in the middle of summer, it's like probably slower than when it's like a little damp in the spring, just because of how the pebbly rocky bits, wear in and get dusty. So we're excited about this. Good race. Campground here at the lake if you need it. Hotels here in Campbellsville. We're only 10 minutes from town, so very convenient, easy to get in and out of. It should be a great race. We've had pretty good turnout at this one over the years. And there's the trail running race the Saturday before too. So if you want to run, come run on Saturday, race your mountain bike on Saturday, make a weekend of it.
And I will say that particular park, I really enjoy that campground just because you're really just right at lake level. It's a really scenic place to be and spend time. So, encourage people to check out the campground as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful.
And the date on that was Sunday, April 2nd. All right. So White Lightning.
Yeah. So this race has typically been hosted by Wooden Wave at LBL Canal Loop in Western Kentucky. And they reached out to us last year and said, hey, can we make this race part of the series? We kind of explained how it worked. Like, it's not just adding a race to the series. It's like we want to if we're making it a Bluegrass Mountain Cup race, like we'll do it. We'll do it all. We'll make this race happen. They did it as a way just to get people interested in the event, or in the trails, by doing the event, help fund the team a little bit. Being brutally honest, and if you're looking at hosting a race, probably don't. You're not going to make money off of it. Like, you have to really invest in race series to make money off of stuff. I mean, you won't make money for 3 to 5 years hosting races. Ask any race director how much they have in their equipment, and you will cry. And that was the case. So, they brought this back after COVID, had a good turnout, but just because of the landed cost, they paid a USAC official, various things like that, it wasn't worth the time spent for the money that they made back for the club. So they're like, hey, help us out here. So we're taking over this race. We're going to make it happen for them, bring the race here, take all the stress off them. I mean, I just need to be introduced into people out there for a couple things, just for some local connections, for making this a community event, and us getting brought there. But it's Canal Loop, everybody knows it. It's a great race, it's a great place to have a race, and we've been wanting to include Western Kentucky in this statewide series. So this was a perfect way to do it, and bring all the racers across the state, because Western Kentucky, we don't see a lot of those racers at the rest of our races because it's a long way, and vice versa. So hopefully this will get some overlap going throughout the series, and we'll see some growth statewide, and kind of west side of the state gets to show off what they got going on at LBL. And if some of those racers can come to our eastern races, then they'll get to see what they've got going on. So we're really excited about it, and they've the folks from Wooden Wave that have helped with this before have been extremely supportive, and helping us get this rolling and making sure it happens for a returning year. Same with the folks at LBL and all the property management with National Forest and stuff like that.
Cool, very good. And it's a really nice community of mountain bikers I'm teaching myself, because here we say Central Kentucky, or we say Eastern Kentucky, and out there they say West Kentucky, not Western, but West Kentucky. So out in West Kentucky, in land between the lakes, this is a beautiful area. So really, really cool place to have an event.
Absolutely.
All right. And then you're out into Hazard and Perry County Park.
The Perry County Park Trail System. Ben Brahman is the trail builder of that. He's got some people working with him. He's killing it. If you have not followed Pathfinders of Perry County, or Ben, or anything that's going on at Hazard, do yourself a favor and give them a follow to see the progression, see the updates and everything. Perry County Park is a small little park nestled kind of right in the middle of town. So Hazard's kind of on one side of the mountain. The North Fork of the Kentucky, I'm pretty sure, is the river that's kind of going up through the other side. And Perry County Park's dropped right in the middle of it all, up on a ridge. The base of the park's got a pool, putt-putt, RC car track, some basketball courts, little city park thing or county park things. And then up in the hills are trail systems. So it was some established trails that have been there for a while. Ben came in a handful of years ago. Ben's got a background in construction and trail building, and they moved to town. And he started working with the county on developing this park system. And he's got machines. He's got, he posted a video this week of him jackhammering a rock out to make a bench cut up through there. Everything that he is building is just super well done. And touches of stuff that you would expect in big mountain bike area meccas, like in Colorado, North Carolina, British Columbia, all that stuff. And he's bringing those aspects, and he's taking that and putting it into Hazard, Kentucky, and making extremely fun trails. It's very, very impressive what he's doing. And he's a very fast trail builder. So you might go there this weekend and ride, and by the time you go back 2 months, there could be another mile of trail. They've really been knocking it out. Now, things will be a little bit different for this race this year because of the displacement with flood victims from the flooding in July of 2022 in Perry County. So they've used a lot of the park for a lot of flood victim trailers, like FEMA trailers and stuff like that. So we're going to be changing the start-stop location of the race. which will slightly change the trail connectivity, but it'll all be good. Ben's been working on some different trails, and he's got a flow line, he's got good climbing trails, he's got connection flows, he's got berms built, he's got handmade rock gardens, he's got like awkward shaped rocks that they pulled out of the side of the mountain when building roads and stuff and made like on offs on. I mean, it's just so cool. And it is a steep mountain. It is a bit of climbing. It's a very gradual grade. If you choose the right trail, knowing where to go is a big thing here. And it's on Trail Forks. It's very well labeled. Ben's an awesome person to reach out to and be responsive. Say, hey, this is what you want to do.
And I can't remember where Ben is from, but Ben's a transplant. He's injected a lot of positive energy, and I think the Kenny Dunn is the guy who is sort of the local or the long-term hazard guy who's really done a lot of work with Ben. So there's a nice partnership there to kind of making some cool things happen in Eastern Kentucky.
Right, and one of the coolest things about it all is like the county is super supportive. Like Prestonsburg, extremely supportive of what they got going on there with the trail builders and like pouring in money. Same thing in Hazard. These Eastern Kentucky towns are like really coming through and like making Eastern Kentucky a mountain biking destination. Hazard and Sugarcamp are only about an hour away from each other. So if you're looking for a weekend trip, hit one on one day, the other on the other day, and then come back that evening. Perfect little loop of a mountain bike trip. And Perry County Park's expanding. Like they plan to build more and more trails. They plan to keep, fitting in a trail everywhere they can. So definitely check it out. It's well worth it. Some of the climbs, like depending on what trail you take, you might end up on a steep climb at one point, but coming down, it's completely worth it. There's flow lines, there's fun stuff, there's go arounds. It's a great spot. It's one of my favorite places to ride in the state. And I hope that more people give it a chance. Hazard's also a super cute little community. There's plenty of hotels and places to stay. I mean, it's right there. It's kind of like the center of that parkway. Decent places to eat, decent, downtown and the small town vibe that you'd want. It's one of my, I think Perry County Park was one of my favorite races last year for sure. Because of that community support, first time mountain bike race in the town. Like the judge was out, the Chamber of Commerce people were out, tourism people were out. They were all out, and they were actually participating in the running event that we do on the Saturday before this called Kiss the Goat, which is a super unique, cool trail running race. I think it's the coolest trail running race that we host. You run to the top of the mountain, see a goat, and then run back down 3 miles up, 1 mile down, and it's in a time trial format. So super unique event. Perry County Park is awesome.
That's really awesome. And I'll include a link. There's a couple years ago, I guess it was the year before last, the Kentucky Bicycle and Bikeways Commission, they actually had an Eastern Kentucky Trails panel with both Ben and Kenny and Josh Turner from Sugarcamp Mountain Trails about their trail development. So really cool things happen in Eastern Kentucky. Super psyched to see that you're tied in with them and really kind of helping to bring the mountain bike community to these awesome resources in Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, trails like Perry County Park and Prestonsburg and like the communities that they have there, like makes me want to move there. Like if we were to up and move somewhere else, those would be one of the first 2 places I would go.
Yeah, hidden gems, really. I mean, go check them out. All right. And then you're coming to my neck of the woods, Josh. 12 Hours of Capitol View Park.
Yes. Troy Hearn is the legend behind the 12 hours of CVP, right? He's done this for 11 or 12 years, something like that. It fell through the cracks last year. It was on the schedule. Some things happened. Won't get into that. And it just didn't get to happen. And someone mentioned, hey, Troy's wanting to have the 12 hours of CVP this year. I think he's looking for someone to help him put it on, so on and so forth. I met with Troy. I had great conversation with him, got a little bit more of the details of this. It's always one of those races that you're standing around in the parking lot and, you're just telling war stories, right? And 12 hours of CVP is always one of those that come up in the war stories. Like, man, it's like that time I cramped it, blah, blah, blah. Like I didn't eat nearly enough food and I can't even finish that last lap. It just come out of nowhere, blah, blah, blah. Like it's one of those iconic, if you race in Kentucky, races that you've heard about and hear stories from. And so talk to Troy, got the lay of the land. I'm like, all right, sweet. Like, I'd be more than happy to take this on and bring this to the Bluegrass Mountain Cup, put it in with our calendar, and we run it. So, like, the points from this race won't carry for the rest of the stuff. You know, it's a very different format from the other XC races, but we're going to put the same effort and the same, I guess, touch that we put into all of our other races. We're really excited about it. We've had tons of people reach out and say, thank you so much for bringing this back. Troy has been extremely helpful. He's like, hey, whatever you need, here it is. Here's what you need to know. I've asked him on opinions on everything going forward, get, you know, historically how it's been for various things. And I can't wait for this race. It's going to be warm. It's in August. It's the, you know, around the same time it's always been, is like mid to late August. We've added a 6-hour format. Hopefully get a lot of like youth racers and stuff like that on the 6-hour format. If they want to do solo, we have team format, 12-hour, of course. A lot of people register last minute for this because they'll be, well, I'll try for the 12-hour, but I ain't feeling that. I'm just going to do the 6-hour. So a lot of last minute registrations will probably happen with this event, which is fine. And we're keeping it at a pretty affordable price. You know, it's a little bit more than our XC races. We got to buy a lot of food, closer to the same price as our Enduro races, but you know, we're not charging like the $400 entry fee like some 12-hour races do, you know. So we're pretty happy about that. Hopefully that'll attract a lot of people to come see what's up. Capitol View is a pretty easy rolling trail system, you know. It's very groomed. You know, it gets combed over every week by Troy and other trail stewards there that, you know, take pride in what they have there in Frankfort. I mean, it really is right there in town pretty much. And we think it's going to be a great place. So if you've never raced a long form race, like a 4 or a 6 or 12-hour, this is a great place to do it. It's not going to beat you up. You do, you know, how many laps can you do? You know, can you do 10 laps? Can you do that in 12 hours? You know, go for it. Can you do 4, whatever it is, and take breaks? You know, get a coffee in between laps if you need it. Eat food, do what you need, and just see how far you can go. And it's a very good community event. The team format's really good for that community aspect too. It's like, okay, Nathan, we're going to send you out, you know, put the pedal to the metal on this lap, do what you can. I'll get you next lap, and trade off for a duo category, for example. And it's pretty cool. And it's not as common of a format this day is what it used to be. You know, now we're seeing a lot of like 100-mile races and gravel races and stuff like that. That's kind of filled that like ultra endurance kind of void. So it's really cool to, you know, have this on the Bluegrass Mountain Cup calendar and, you know, offer it to people that have maybe never had the chance to do it.
I always say I'm not a racer, but I have to say this is the one race that I've actually done, you know, but I approach it in a very non-racing way. So I think that the culture of this event is really twofold, because you've got people who are out there who are being really competitive and might put in 9 or 10 laps around. I don't know if you'll do it. Capitol View's been expanded in recent years from about 11 to 12. So I don't know what the probably 11, 12-mile loop. So I don't know how if you'll do the full thing or some version, but you know, people are putting in 100 miles mountain biking, you know, in a 12-hour period, sometimes more than that. I mean, 110 miles, 100, you know, whatever it is. I mean, it's a lot of potential miles in a 12-hour period. And I'm way at the opposite of that spectrum. You know, it's I might do a couple of laps and I'm hanging out. It's a very social event. You meet a lot of people. You know, it's a cool mix of people from various ends of the spectrum.
It really is. And, you know, you will have the guys out there, like if Brian Schwarm comes, I'm sure if you don't have another race or a college duty or something that weekend, he'll be there and he'll put in that like 100-mile race, you know. And, you know, there's other guys like yourself, for example, that like can use this as a challenge. You know, it's like, okay, I'm going to sign up for the 6-hour and my goal is doing X amount of laps in that 6-hour time. And you're racing yourself. And then you might surprise yourself that like, oh, hey, that stacks up pretty good against the rest of my field and the people in my age category or anything like that. So it's a really good opportunity to come out there and see, you know, how good you can do, and how far you can go, or how many laps you can do, and whatever. And you know, you always got someone to hang out with and share stories with and talk to, and you know, the aspect of the community and the camaraderie and everything like that is awesome at events like this. You know, we know who's going to be the fast guys. Like after the first lap, you're like, all right, those guys are gone. See ya. And then everything else is just like, hey, get there, finish. You know, it's kind of like a marathon. You know, it's like
Yep.
you want to see people finish. It's not about the time at the end of the day. It's not about the number of laps at the end of the day. You're like, hey, keep pushing yourself. You got this. Keep going. So it really makes for a great community cycling event.
Will you have a party lapper thing here, or will it just be like the one and the open?
Not necessarily, because it's a long time to only do one lap.
Right.
You're more than welcome to kind of do that. It's a little different, and we'll see a handful of people in 12-hour solo, handful of people in 6-hour solo, good amount in duo, and then a lot of people in the 3-4 that will have, like, you know, a good camaraderie. And those people in that 3-4 will be there kind of like as your party lappers in a way. It's like someone on the team might only be able to do 1 or 2 laps, but you got like a powerhouse on the team that can do as many laps as they need to.
Yeah.
But you get to experience that as a team and like contribute what you got, and really like bond over, maybe it's a group of people that work at a bike shop. You know, you got so and so here at a bike shop that's just a racer guy that goes fast and like loves to do it, but hey, I want to race with my bike shop. We're all going to wear our bike shop kit and be on here. But we got this person that they're not much of a racer. They're like a club ride, fun kind of person. They want to give it a try, and they might have 2 laps in them. So here they are. And it could just make a really good, like, you know, the photo on the wall that gets printed out and stapled to the board at the bike shop memory. So there's a lot of that will happen in the 4-person teams or 3 and 4-person teams. So it's awesome. And then you'll have guys that are, you know, like have salt just peeling off their face at the end of the 12-hour and not be able to walk. So it's a great time for all aspects. So we have solo 12 men and women, and then we have a solo men 50 plus and solo women 50 plus. We also have solo single speed 12 hours. So I don't think anyone's registered for that yet. There probably will be. There's some people that enjoy that type of fun in the state here, and that's, you know, bless them. We also have duo men 12, duo women 12, duo co-ed 12, and then we have a duo junior men and women 12-hour too. So, you know, if we have some high school racers that are just tough and want to, you know, charge this out and do it as a team, there's a category for them. I don't know how many junior racers are going to be doing that, but that's a pretty big push for a junior racer. So it's extremely exciting to, you know, hopefully see them there. Same categories, and then 3 and 4 for your like bike shop kind of teams and stuff like that. And then there's the 6-hour category. So we're not doing teams for 6 hours. If you're wanting to do a team as a 6-hour, you kind of should just do a 12-hour race, because you're, you know, ride for an hour, someone else rides for an hour. You ride for an hour, someone else rides for an hour. So it's kind of all the same in that way. So solo 6-hour categories only. If someone like, you know, I'm going to go train for this, I want to do the 12-hour, rolled my ankle in June, off the bike for 2 weeks, I'm only going to have the 6-hour in me come race day. We got a category for you to still race as a solo person and, you know, put in a good effort in its own category there.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I'm very excited about this coming back to Frankfurt, and thank you, and thanks to Troy for wanting to bring that back. All right, so PC Park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is one of the more loved trail systems in Kentucky. If people have been there, this is mostly machine built trail. There's some really good flow. There's gradual climb that's, you know, kind of sustained. And this course makes for a really, really good race course. So if you're a faster racer, this course allows you to lay it down and go hard and hurt at the end of the race, because you can just keep such a fast pace and keep your cadence up. So it's awesome for that. It's also really good though for your entry level riders, because there's not a lot of crazy technical features. There's not a lot of steep climbs. Everything is pretty, attainable, but technical enough and like curvy enough. It's not just straight trail like at Laurel Lake where you're just going straight, straight, straight kind of. This trail's got some wind to it and everything, but makes it pretty fun. So PC Park is a great race. We're doing it on Saturday this year. We did it on Sunday last year. Saturday this year, hopefully get a little bit more local participation with that. And man, I'm really excited for it. This is one of my favorite places to go ride. It's only about 45 minutes down the road from me. And there's some trail expansions going on there. They're not going to be part of the race. We're going to stick with the same race course that we've used in the past because it doesn't crisscross and cross the road and have to deal with all that stuff. And it's a really, really good, fast, fun course. So if you've not been to PC Park, come check it out. It's a great, great trail system down in Nancy, Kentucky, which is right outside Somerset and Lake Cumberland. So yeah, it'll be a good one.
Yeah, PC Park's a great place. Lots of camping, some little KOA style cabins there. Place for RV right on the lake. So it's a pretty sweet resource in Kentucky.
Yeah, and I'll give the Lake Cumberland Trail Foundation, which is I think Josh Harris now the owner of Summer Cycle there, as well as Aaron Denny. He's like the go-to guy for the trails and everything there. Between Aaron and Josh and some other volunteers, they keep that place in tip-top shape. If you go there and like ride tonight at 6 o'clock and say, "Oh, hey, there's a tree down on Sweatbee or something like that," like one of the trails there, it's gone by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Like they are on top of their trail maintenance, and it's very impressive, and it's something for a lot of other communities because none of those guys get paid to do any of that. It's all volunteer. They've got a system, and it's impressive and it's very inspiring to see them put that work into it, and it keeps the trails running, and they're in great shape because of it.
Yeah, and if you like either flowy or downhill stuff, this is one of the premier places in the state to go.
Yeah, there's a shuttleable flow trail there that's about a 3-minute long jump trail called High Roller. You can pedal to the top, of course, but hey, if you like the easy way to the top and you've got some buddies in a pickup, you can go shuttle High Roller until you can't hold on to the handlebars, and it's a lot of fun. Lots of jumps, lots of technical features and cool stuff on it.
And it dumps right out into the campground, so
right into the campground.
Pretty sweet. All right, and last but certainly not least, Sugarcamp Mountain.
Right. Yeah, so we're making this a big weekend, and this is why it's one of the last ones on the schedule. Not only because Sugarcamp is absolutely gorgeous in October, you can see in that photo that's from this year's Enduro. You can see the yellow in the trees, and that was mid to late October this year, end of October this coming year. Beautiful time, perfect camping weather. Trails are in as good of a shape as you can ask for, and we're putting the XC race and the Enduro race on the same weekend. So very busy weekend as far as race stuff goes, especially from my end. But that's going to let hey, you want to race XC, you've got a chance to race XC and race Enduro the next day. It's going to be a big party. We're going to have hopefully everyone that rides a mountain bike in the state at Sugarcamp Mountain come October 28th and 29th. Shuttles to the top of the mountain, like with the city helping with that. They're the ones that run the shuttle for us, which is amazing, and arguably, in a lot of people's opinion too, some of the best trails in the state, especially within a 3-4 hour drive. They've got some new projects in the works that I can say that they're building some new stuff over the winter, in the pockets of good weather, that will connect some various trails into better ways to where it's not as long or not a hard of a climb with like double backing or anything like that. So they're opening up some really cool sections that'll be perfect by the time this race comes around, and man, we cannot wait.
All right, well, is there anything else I should point out on the site here before I stop sharing my screen?
Not really. When we get into the race season, we use that news page to say, hey, blah 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 about this weekend, blah 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 about that weekend, kind of thing.
Okay.
Usually we carbon copy any of that stuff over to the Facebook as well. This is kind of this spot where you can see that. We have the results page there. When races start rolling, we'll have that stuff right there. And then we're working on some merch. We'll probably actually put it all for sale via the bike rage pages to make things easy. We might, depending on what we do with some merch, we might put it up for sale here. But we sold out last year, hats and t-shirts, and we're looking to do some jackets and maybe some socks and some other wearables this year as well. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, we're rolling. Registrations live for all of our races, all throughout the year. Even trail run in December is even live. So if you're ready to race and this has inspired you to race, go sign up. The earlier you sign up, the more you save, and it helps us. Like, this is another thing. I know so many people wait till the week of the race to sign up, but you are doing yourself a disservice, because I don't know how many people are going to be at the race and come Monday through Thursday. If 50% of the field signs up then before the race, I've missed out on that opportunity to take some of that registration income and invest it into something better for the racers. That could mean, like, if it's a race that has like a t-shirt involved, like, which is mostly our running races, but possibly like the 12 hours of Capitol View. If everyone signs up last minute on that, you could have had a nicer quality t-shirt because we had known that we had the bank to spare for it than last minute. I looked at some data earlier this week doing some forecasting for races, and one of our races last year, we had over 50% of the field sign up between Monday and Thursday before the race. Registration was open for 2 or 3 months before this race happened, but everyone signed up right before the race. So do us a favor as race directors and sign up early. It helps us with being able to like plan ahead and know things so much easier. Have to do way less like panic on Friday evening, like, oh man, we had 20 some signups, like tonight right before the race happens tomorrow, like we're going to need more snacks, or we're going to need more this or more that, or we got to go pack more bags, or whatever it would be. So sign up early, saves you money, helps us invest more into that race in a better way, and it also makes us panic less. So that's always appreciated.
All right, Joshua, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you about that you'd like to share with the Kentucky cycling audience?
Man, that's a hard one. I will say that we're super appreciative of people signing up for our races. We've got 85 registered for the Duffield Enduro, and we're still a couple weeks out from that, or a couple months out from that. So we're expecting that to go well over 125, if not over 150. And we're excited for the rest of the series. We've got people registered for every event so far. We, of course, waiting for more and more to come in on that. But man, we think 2023 will be a great year of growth for the series. We've got our roots established. We've invested into some stuff over the winter. We've changed some things in what we think are going to be a super positive way, like the categories. And with this bigger series now, I think that 2023 on is going to be huge for Kentucky, because we're trying to make this series like one of the staple state series across the nation. We want people to think of Kentucky mountain biking and think of the Bluegrass Mountain Cup, and hey, they've got awesome races. I'd love to go do one and spend a week in Kentucky hitting up all the trail systems and so on and so forth, and make this place one of their destination places that they go ride. Because we as Kentuckians, you know this. I mean, that's half of this Kentucky cycling mission, is like showcasing what we got. I mean, we've got great stuff here, but we're kind of looked over. We're kind of a flyover state in that way. And, we're hoping that series helps change that. And, our Kentuckians racing this and promoting it and helping us out with this mission is extremely supported. And, that's been happening. And we just, we're going to keep nudging everyone to keep supporting us and helping us out that way.
That's great. That's great. Well, Josh, thanks so much for what you do in promotion of cycling in Kentucky in the broadest sense. And this is a get series. I encourage folks to sign up early, get it going, get up the gear, get signed up, and get ready to go turn some pedals on some great mountain bike trails throughout Kentucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Nathan. It's going to be a great year, and we can't wait to see everyone at the races and we can't wait for spring to be past that winter weather. It's we miss everyone for these 6 months of no racing, so we can't wait for it.
Awesome. Thanks again.
As always, we hope you found this content useful. If you did, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks.